If it's talk, tunes, tales and talent you're after, you've come to the right place. Radio ENRG.
Hello and welcome to the Football Roundup. I am your host, David Ronney, and I'm joined in the studio today by Gregor, Kerr, Bryce, Donaldson and Luke Barry on the show. We will be talking all things Scotland related, including the Champions League. Champions League draw did happen last Friday. And before we get started, we're going to read today's teaser. That's right, we do a teaser every week. If you do know the answer, please do tweet in at Football ENRG or at Radio ENRG using the hashtag FRU Show. So regarding Leicester City's win over West Ham, one player who wasn't in the squad was Wes Morgan. Wes Morgan ended an 87-game top flight run of appearances. He missed out on the win against West Ham at the London Stadium due to a back injury. However, our teaser for today is which outfield player holds the record for most consecutive appearances in the Premier League. I'll say that once more. So, which outfield player holds the record for most consecutive appearances in the Premier League? And bonus points if you can tell us which team it is, the number of games and the time frame it occurred. It is a difficult one, but if you do know, please do tweet in. I'm going to just jump right into things regarding the Champions League. Yes, we did recap everything Champions League related, except what happened on Wednesday night when we aired earlier on, and there was games following the airing of our show. That was including Atletico Madrid and Bayer Leverkusen. Quickly recapping that game, not much to talk about there. Atletico Madrid did hold Bayer Leverkusen for a 0-0 draw. Atletico Madrid's goalkeeper, All Black, with some spectacular saves. You could probably find those online if you wish. It was a great game for them. Atletico Madrid had already scored 4 goals in the previous round, and Bayer Leverkusen scoring 2 at home, but Bayer Leverkusen required to score 3 goals and in Madrid, and unfortunately didn't do so, and they go out. But the big talking point was Manchester City. They went to Monaco with a 5-3 lead, and they lost the match by 3-1 against Monaco. Monaco taking a 2-goal lead early on. Manchester City looking all over the place, only having one holding midfielder, and where Pep Guardiola's side was going for an attacking style of game. Manchester City did get a goal back to put things as 5, I think it was 6-5. They looked like they were going in, but just minutes later Monaco got the winning goal, and they went through on away goals. Bryce, I'm going to come to you first here. Monaco, I think, surprised a lot of people in this fixture. I think a lot of people accepted Manchester City to go far in the Champions League, and yet again Manchester City have fallen short and went out in the last 16 stage. Is it a lack of discipline seeing out these games, or is it just they don't have the defence to get through these matches?
Well, I mean, I think Manchester City kind of have a habit of leaving the Champions League a bit earlier than most people would expect them to, especially with the quality of players that they have. But again, it's their defence that's let them down. There has been time and time again this season, lots of questions asked of their defence, especially the young John Stones. But to be honest, to lose 3-1 away, especially when you've kind of beaten them before, you start to think, well, maybe it's not all their fault. Maybe the manager should take a wee bit of stick and say that, hold his hands up, my tactics haven't worked out this time. And I think that might be with that attacking formation. Monaco are a very attacking team. They're doing well in the league. I think Pep Guardiola should maybe hold his hands up and say, I should take some of the blame for this.
Do you agree with that, Gregor, that Pep Guardiola, he's known for going attacking these games, even though he did score 5 in the previous match? He set the team up to go and score goals, and it didn't work out for him. Do you think he now has to pay the price for that?
Yeah, I think it was maybe a bit of a naive decision taking one holding midfielder to Monaco when you consider the goals they've scored this season, especially at home. They've been battering teams 5-0, 6-0 like it's nothing, on a weekly basis in Ligue 1. So yeah, I think it was a bit of a probably not the right for I'm no football manager, but didn't seem the right kind of tactical formation to play to go all out attack. They probably should have played a bit more holding midfielders, kind of just consolidated their lead instead of just going for it and trying to batter them almost. It seemed like they wanted to do. But yeah, I think the one holding midfielder probably was a bit of Guardiola's fault, to be honest.
Yeah, look, it was the youngsters that did step up in this game for Monaco, including, I think, the likes of Mbappe and the left back as well, Trimbe. I probably butchered that name, but their left back was very impressive, so I've been told from that match. But can Monaco keep a hold of these players come the summer transfer window?
I think that'll be the big challenge. Mbappe is obviously, we talked about him last week, and he was on fire in the first leg, and in the league he's been great. But I think he scored the first goal of the match. I could be wrong saying that, but I think he definitely scored against. Yeah,
Mbappe I think scored the second.
The second goal, okay.
And it was a thundering strike at that through the top on the right and fired it at home on the left.
Either way, he's definitely going to be one of these players that is going to be constantly linked with big clubs around Europe. And whether he'll go this transfer window, I'm not sure, to be honest. And from his perspective, I definitely don't think he should, because he'll fall into that trap that Raheem Sterling almost did when he moved to Man City. I think he's recovered it a bit. But you end up sort of moving too young and then sort of suffering from not getting enough game time. You don't really get the chance to develop and really show your worth. If he stays another season, if Monaco can keep him for another season at least, his market value will definitely increase. He will become much more of a potent threat, and we'll be able to sort of gauge if it's just like a good run of form, if he's actually going to be the real deal. So for both club and player, it'll be better if he can stay. But of course, this is football. Some teams do need attacking players, and they'll come in and try and get him, because he's definitely looking like one of the best talents in young football right now.
And the Champions League draw was made on the Friday following those matches. I'll read them out as it follows. So Borussia Dortmund, they will be hosting Monaco, as we just talked about. Both matches were on. It was Barcelona against Juventus. Juventus is another match coming up. Atletico Madrid, they'll be playing Leicester City. Bayern Munich will be playing Real Madrid. And what game stands out to you? I'm going to come to you again first, Luke.
I think it has to be Atletico Madrid versus Leicester City, just because Leicester City are there going to this Stadio Calderon, which is, you would never have thought that was going to happen 2 years ago, to be honest. But theoretically, on paper, Bayern Munich v Real Madrid looks like it could be the one that could be massive, because I think both of those teams are strong favourites for this Champions League trophy this year, so that as well for me. But mainly the Leicester Atletico Madrid game, just because of the pure scenes of Leicester being there, to be honest. Yeah,
and that game of Bayern Munich, Carlo Ancelotti is returning to Real Madrid after he was sacked at the job just a year following that he'd won the Champions League for them, having finished second. Bryce, what game stands out to you?
I'm going to side with Lucky here again. It might be a wee bit of a boring answer, but I think it'll be interesting to see how Leicester City kind of come up against one of these big teams in Europe. You know, they played Sevilla, and Sevilla are still a very good team, but they're not one of these scary big clubs that are there every season type thing. So it'll be interesting to see what their approach is to that.
Can Leicester City go through in that game, do you think?
Well, I mean, in football, anything's possible, I suppose, but it's going to be extremely difficult for them. Atletico Madrid are no pushover side, so it'll be interesting to see what Shakespeare does to psych Leicester up for that.
And Gregor, what about you? Are you going for a Leicester hat trick?
It's not going to be a hat trick, I'm afraid. But for me, it's got to be Barcelona versus Juventus. I mean, in my opinion, the two best squads in Europe over two legs, and it's also repeated the 2015 final. So that'll be interesting to see if Barcelona run out winners this time. But the amount of quality players in that game is just going to be unmissable, I think.
And for me, I'm going to go for Borussia Dortmund Monaco, considering that they both have very attacking style teams. There's going to be a lot of goals in that game. We do hope. Quickly, we're going to go into the Europa League. We haven't discussed the Europa League this season on the show, but we're going to jump into it because there was some exciting matches. I think most notably was the tie between Roma and Olympic Lyon. Lyon did have a 4-2 win at Lyon in the first leg. I think they did come behind from 2 goals then to score 4. And then the second fixture, which was at Rome, but it was 2-1 Roma. Unfortunately, they did not get a third, and even despite this, I'm not sure if they were able to go through, maybe potentially regarding away goals. But Lyon progressed through. Memphis Depay having signed for Lyon, but he's unable to play due to the one club rule. But the likes of Lacazette and Tolisso do step up for Lyon, and they face Besiktas in the next round, which we'll get onto shortly. Manchester United, they return from a cold night in Rostov, getting a 1-0 draw, and then getting a 1-0 win thanks to a strike by Juan Mata late in the game to get them through the next round. And they will face Anderlecht in the next round, a team that I probably didn't want Manchester United to face, but regardless, they will travel to Belgium for that fixture. Other fixtures for the Europa League tie is Ajax will be playing Schalke, big Amsterdam versus German style team there. Celta Vigo, they'll be playing Ghent. Genk did beat Ghent to much of viewership surprise. Lyon versus Besiktas, as I previously mentioned, and Adelaide Manchester United. So we're going to go to Saturday first regarding the Scottish Premiership. Pedro Caixinha took his first managerial game in charge for Rangers, and he did get off to a winning start. It was a 4-0 win against Hamilton. Gregor jokingly said beforehand that maybe it's a step back, as they did previously beat Hamilton by 6-0. 2 goals have been deducted from this tally in this fixture this time round. But Gregor, what's Pedro Caixinha's role for this season? Is it just to push up for second place, or is it maybe to a bit of damage in this this cup final or semi-cup final that's coming up?
Yeah. It's kind of hard to tell what really defines an acceptable season for Rangers now, where they finish, because I think they're 8 points off Aberdeen now with 9 games remaining. It will be a tough one to claw back, but I think Rangers fans just kind of want to see a difference in the style of play and kind of more attacking play until the end of the season, because under Warburton it was a bit ponderous and kind of a bit cautious, the football, whereas I wasn't at the game on Saturday. From what I saw, the highlights, they looked a lot more kind of attacking and direct and more confident. And I think that's kind of the main things the fan want to see. Next season they can push on and maybe try and challenge for the title or get closer to Celtic than this season. But for now, I think it's about changing the style of football and hopefully winning that semi-final you mentioned at Hampden.
Is it as simple as that, Bryce? Just changing a style of football? Is it more maybe a matter of money? I think a lot of Rangers fans are stating that the budget's not big enough to get these players in. Obviously, he can't bring any players until the summer transfer window. But do you think when that does come, that he needs to put a statement in, get some high-profile players, some that will actually stay for a considerable amount of time? Potentially take a wee bit of dig at Joey Barton there, but yeah, is it a player that they need who's committed to the Rangers job and it's not just for the paycheck?
Well, I mean, that's a difficult one to answer. Obviously, it's the big players with the big paychecks that got Rangers in their problem financially in the first place. So Rangers do need to kind of keep within their means there. But saying that, Pedro Caixinha's come in. He's won 4-0 in his first match. Any manager that wins 4-0 in their first match is brilliant. I think the fans will be delighted with that. And if things keep going his way, he's kept a clean sheet there, I should say, as well. That's a big thing for a new manager. I know it's Hamilton Academical don't exactly have world-class strikers, but, I mean, just to already have your defence a wee bit more solidly sound than, say, Warburton had them is a big thing already for them.
And quickly before we move on, we do have a wee message from our friends, so to say, Jamie Braidwood, who's out in America, and Mr. Michael Gawkin, who are a fan of the music choice, so I'll take note of that. Look, no sarcasm there. Hearts, they did go to Aberdeen. They were beaten by the Dons by 2-0. Ian Catherine managed to salvage a goal in that fixture. But look, it's a weird one for Ian Catherine, don't you think, that he's still very young, but some games he gets the results and then others he doesn't?
Yeah, I think I've said this on the show already, but I think this season for Hearts and Catherine, it's all about sort of testing out things, trying what works. Because as you mentioned, there he's a young manager, so he doesn't have a lot of experience to bank on if he gets into a tricky situation. It's quite an agonising defeat for them, to be honest, because that's a 2-0. It's like if it was a 1-0, you could have gone, it could have been a close game. I haven't seen the game, so if I'm talking absolute rubbish, somebody stop me, please. But 2-0, it seems a lot worse on paper, at least. That they've kind of not really had much of a chance. Because they're sitting, I think they're 5th in the table now. They're 2 points behind St Johnstone. I think they would want to be at least 4th in reality, but as I've said, I think it's too early to be calling too much on him, because as we know, they've taken a bit of a punt on Cathro because of his inexperience. But I do actually have faith that given the good games I've seen from him, he will actually manage to get something strong for Hearts next season. And I think that's what the Premiership needs. If Hibs can come back in as well, we've got just no top 4 big teams all in there, hopefully fighting for top honours.
Other games from Saturday do include Motherwell. They were hosting St Johnstone. St Johnstone did manage to get a 2-1 win away at Motherwell. I think Motherwell is still on the hunt for a replacement after the sacking of Mark McGee. Kilmarnock, they drew 1-1 with Partick Thistle, but 1 goal apiece there. Inverness Caledonian Thistle was also a 1-1 draw with Ross County. And on the Sunday, Dundee were beaten by Celtic by 2-1. In other news, water is wet. But for Dundee, Elback Tui, a personal favourite from our friend Bryce, who's a Dunfermline fan, but Elback Tui was at Dunfermline last season in the glistening campaign that saw them get promotion into the Championship, and it was a stunning strike in itself. If you have not seen it, please do have a wee look online for that. But the table, as it reads, Celtic are leading with 83 points, Aberdeen with 58, Rangers are 8 points behind with 50, and as follows: St Johnstone with 43, Hearts 41, Partick Thistle 34, Kilmarnock 32, Dundee 30, Ross County 28, Motherwell 27, Inverness, Caledonian Thistle 24, and equal on points is Hamilton, so it's very tight at the bottom there. Who will go down? Only time will tell. We're going to go to Scottish Championship now. We're going to go to the game we did attend on Saturday. Myself and Bryce were at the press box. Luke unfortunately was away, but we were there reporting on the Dumbarton match. Dumbarton manager Stephen Aitken did speak to us several weeks before. If you'd like to hear that interview, you can find it on radioenrg.net. But it was a 2-2 draw. Dumbarton went ahead late into the first half thanks to a penalty right on the edge of the penalty box. Nadi conceded that effort. Hibs then got an equaliser early in the second half, and then moments later did lose that equaliser thanks to Dumbarton taking a first time strike again. But Hibs, after a blundering error by the goalkeeper, did manage to slot one home to secure a draw. Look, you weren't at the game, but seeing it on paper, is it why maybe Hibs are not? I think we were at the press conference afterwards, and Neil Lennon was absolutely furious for not getting all 3 points. Is the poor record at home letting this team down?
I think a little bit. I don't know what's happened, but I don't know if the cup's perhaps distracting them because we've reached semi-final there again. But there's been a small blip of form over the last month from Hibs. They're obviously getting quite close to winning the championship in that position where got a smell from Gregor in the corner, but they're in that position where they're potentially looking like they could win the championship and finally get back up to the Scottish Premiership. I think it's 3 seasons now they've been down in the championship, so obviously it's a massive deal for both the manager and the players. And I just wonder if that pressure is starting to creep in a little bit. I mean, the game against Dumbarton, they were kind of from what I've heard, they were on the back foot pretty much from the get-go, really.
Dumbarton did have a lot of pressure against Hibs, as much as I don't know about you, Gregor, want to admit, but I think Dumbarton were the better side in the first half. Hibs grew into the second half, especially like Sir John McGinn, who grew in comfort as the game went on. But in the first half, I think they were left frustrated by the amount of possession pressing Dumbarton did have on them. I
think ultimately every single game is going to be difficult for them, but I think realistically Neil Lennon has the right to be annoyed perhaps at his players. Maybe it was a lack of preparation. We don't know what really happened there. But on paper, it's definitely 2 points dropped, especially since they were playing at home. Because I think if it works out now, if Falkirk beat Hibs and they've got a game in hand to win that as well, they'll just be 1 point behind. So it's potentially quite risky. I still think they have enough to do it, but it's a worrying sort of time for this to happen, I think, for Lennon and Hibs.
Yeah. Although me and Bryce were in the press box, Gregor was amongst the fans who were watching the game. Greg, about 70 minutes in, after they didn't concede that penalty, they didn't put it through to get the equaliser, a lot of fans start to get up off their seats and leave the stadium. Is that concerning with 20 minutes to go in a game that you could still, which they did get an equaliser, that fans are leaving?
A little bit, but as a Hibs fan, I've known that to happen for quite a while. Usually when we're not winning. I don't think it's a huge concern. I think the fans are pretty frustrated with how the game was going, and I think the penalty was just kind of adding to the frustration. Certainly, I felt a bit frustrated watching it myself. But I don't think it's a big concern the fans were leaving. It just the traffic around Easter Road's quite busy, I like to think. But I think it's just one of those things with fans sometimes, isn't it? Yeah,
I think a big concern for Hibs is Greenock Morton. Greenock Morton did beat one of those title rivals, Falkirk, following the Hibs match, and with them having 2 games in hand, one of which being against Hibs, which is going to happen on a week today, they could potentially get those points and catch up to them. Bryce, is that a concern for now for Neil Lennon? They've got 2 home games this Saturday, one this Saturday against Falkirk, and the following one again at Easter Road against Greenock Morton. If they don't win those games, is it pressure on Lennon?
I mean, there is a wee bit of pressure, but the thing to remember is the weekend there, Hibs were out without their kind of star man, Jason Cummings. He was out for a wee bit of a Maradona-esque effort that got him a suspension. But when he comes back, the thing about Hibs was, at the weekend they were looking very slow, very sluggish. They didn't have that enigma up top to kind of bring the team forward. Even Effie Ambrose was the guy to kind of push Hibs up the pitch.
Effie Ambrose got the man of the match. We saw him. He made about, say, 10 yards into the heart of the midfield, and he was moving his arms like he was trying to take flight to tell his teammates, "Let's get the ball up the field."
That kind of shows you how slow the play was. But as soon as Jason Cummins comes back, Hibs look kind of a completely different team. They look a lot more attacking.
Is it concerning though that they depend on one player like that, especially him being so young?
Not in a sense, yes, but not really. In my opinion, John McGinn had a pretty poor game. So I mean, you can also say, "Oh, are you depending too much on John McGinn?" But I mean, you can say that about kind of any player in the team if that's the way you want to go. It's just Hibs do have good players, and yes, they rely on them. But I think you're allowed to do that as a club. You should have a star player that you want to bail you out of a situation.
Yeah, we'll touch on John McGinn later in the show, but he has been selected for Gordon Strachan's squad in the friendly fixture against Canada and in the qualifier against Slovenia. What his plans are for John is unknown to Neil Lennon, who we'll hear from shortly in our piece by Mr. Jack Brodie, who will be making his debut, even if it is through a pre-recorded piece, but a debut on Radio ENRG. Nevertheless, for other results from the weekend, a week ago today, St Mirren, they were playing Dundee United. Dundee United being beaten by Hibs on the Friday night. Following our show, Gregor was at the game. They did get beat by Hibs by 1-0. That game, Jason Cummins was sent off for a second yellow offence, but St Mirren took advantage of that loss in confidence, you could say. They won by 3-2 against Dundee United in Paisley. Other games from the weekend, Dunfermline, they lost by 1-0 against Ayr. Hibs, as we mentioned, was 2-2 with Dumbarton. Queen of the South, they were beaten again by St Mirren. St Mirren slowly creeping up to Ayr and getting out that bottom spot on a good run of form recently for St Mirren. Raith Rovers, they won by 2-1 against Dundee United. And Falkirk, as we mentioned, were beaten by 1-0 against Great Morton. Fixtures in the Championship then this weekend do include Ayr United will be playing Dumbarton. Dumbarton salvaging a point against the top team. I think Stephen Aitken's side was very disappointed with not getting the win, but glad with a point nevertheless. Hibs at Falkirk, as previously mentioned. Great Morton will be playing at Dunfermline. A big game for Dunfermline and Morton. Dunfermline will probably get points up the table, and Great Morton will be trying to win that game to catch up to the lead of the table, that being Hibs. Raith Rovers will be playing Queen of the South, and on Tuesday Dundee United will be playing Ayr, and as we mentioned, we will talk about on the day as well, Hibs will be playing Great Morton. And also a wee special mention to the Irn-Bru Cup, the Challenge Cup. Unfortunately, the New Saints did not make the final of the TNS Cup. They were beaten by St Mirren by 3-1, but St Mirren will be playing at Dundee United in the final. It'll be half-12 kick-off on, I think, Saturday or Sunday. I think we see now Jamie is quite excited for that game. But now we're going to go to the Scotland squad. We discussed the Scotland squad last week, who we think would be in the squad for tonight's game. Gordon Strachan has confirmed that there are not going to be any Celtic players in the squad, with perhaps Lee Griffiths will be an exception. We'll see what that happens. But we have a special report from our man Jack Brodie. He got interviews with Neil Lennon and several players from the Canadian national side. Take a listen to this.
After 2 years away, the national side is set to return to the capital. The match against Canada is in preparation for Sunday's World Cup Qualifier against Slovenia. With both the scenery and the system set to change, manager Gordon Strachan looks for intensity from his men on Wednesday night. With the tactics in place, Strachan is confident his players will show composure on the day.
We know how we're going to play on Sunday. We now know how we're going to play on Wednesday with the group we have, and what will suit the players, because there's no point in bringing players in and we play them out of position that doesn't suit them. That's alien to them. So we'll try and get a system that suits most of the players that are going to be playing on Wednesday night.
Mr Strachan added that although his players will show professionalism against the North American side, Sunday's qualifier is of the utmost importance.
I'm sure that they'll find the Canadians that we're giving them as much respect as we can, as long as they understand that the next game for us is a huge game for us as a football team in our country.
One player who's used to the Easter Road surroundings is John McGinn. The 22-year-old is set to feature for the national side despite playing in the Scottish Championship. His club manager, Neil Lennon, told us of his ability and how he's come on as a player.
I think it's a testament to John, that he's playing in the Championship and he's made the squad, on a continual basis. I think he's got better and better as the season's gone on, and we're really seeing the best of him there. I think the injury curtailed some of his performances, but now he's playing at the top of his game. He's been playing superbly well and thoroughly merits his call-up.
Although the Canadians have not qualified for the World Cup finals in Russia 2018, interim manager Michael Finlay insists this game will not be treated as a friendly.
So we're going through a strong assessment process and also trying to do that inside a competitive environment, because we can't afford to call these friendlies anymore. We need to be relevant and we need to be on the front foot.
In the Scottish team on Wednesday, there won't be any Celtic players, but the Canadian coach still thinks the pedigree of the Scotland squad is quite strong.
All of these players are of a high quality. I understand what he's probably looking at. It's interesting, his description in the press yesterday. It's very similar to Canada. Our players, we're looking for valuable minutes out of our players, and we struggle to get those, other than a couple. But we're going to be concerned about everybody because, as I say, there's a high quality group in there, whether they're starting or not.
Canadian Luca Gasparato, who plays domestically with Falkirk, says the Canadians will be no pushover.
I think we're coming here as underdogs on Wednesday, so there's not much expected of us, and we're just going to go out and it's nice to be under the radar. Nobody knows about us, but we're going to come out. We're going to press. We're going to try to keep the ball moving, get some chances, and hopefully score a few goals and put on a good performance. That's what we're looking to do.
Reports have suggested that only 5,000 tickets have been sold so far. This might be why the Scottish manager has urged fans to come forward and support the national side.
Thank you very much, Jack. You're welcome to come on any time on the radio if you wish. It was a brilliant report and great work on that. Before we move on, we're going to go back to our teaser. If you do know the answer, please do tweet in at Radio ENRG or at Football ENRG with the hashtag FRU Show. It's regarding Wes Morgan had an 87-game appearance in the top flight for Leicester City. He ended that run as he missed out due to a back injury against in the win against West Ham. So, which outfield player holds the record for most consecutive appearances in the Premier League, and bonus points for the club, number of games and the time frame these appearances occurred in. Scotland are, as Jack covered there, are playing Canada tonight. The Canadian manager saying that this game will not be treated as a friendly. Gordon Strachan, as I previously mentioned, said that no Celtic players would be featuring. Gregor, what do you think is the thought behind that, not including Celtic players? Is it resting them, or is it giving these other young boys a chance and changing his system?
I think tonight is about giving a lot of players a chance who really don't play regularly enough for Scotland. Like, look at Tom Kearney, for example. I believe this is his first call-up, and God knows how it's taken this long. But I think tonight's more about giving people like that the chance. Whereas I think he probably views the Celtic players as his better players in the squad, and probably just wants them to be fresh for Sunday and obviously the much more important game. I kind of imagine that's what his thinking is.
He said that Lee Griffiths would be exception, Bryce. Is that maybe because he's not got a lot of game time recently, or is he not in his plans? Would you say he's more of a backup to Strachan?
I think Lee Griffiths has kind of suffered for game time this season, especially the form that Dembele's been in. So he might be a wee bit more rested, but he is also quite solid for Scotland. He generally does work quite hard for them, so he's quite reliable.
Look, does Scotland need to win tonight to have a chance on Sunday?
See, I think it would be very easy to look at tonight's game and worry about the result, but I would much rather sort of see more of a team performance from Scotland tonight. Obviously, we've discussed that perhaps the players that are playing tonight won't be included in Sunday's match against Slovenia, but I think the things Scotland need to improve on are the belief and determination when they go down, which has been lacking, the style of play and chance conversion. If these three things can be shown in some capacity tonight, then I think that's a positive sign. They don't need to win tonight. Obviously, it will help the confidence, but it's not a complete necessity. I don't think the result is the most important thing for Strachan, to be honest. I think he wants the players to actually perform to a decent level.
And we did have a poll on our Facebook or Twitter page, that is at Football ENRG. Thank you to the 35 of you that did participate in this poll. We asked if Scotland could qualify for the World Cup finals in Russia 2018. From the 35 votes, we had 26% for one, 74% said for the other. And that was 26% said yes, Scotland can qualify, and 74% said no, they don't have a chance of qualifying. Do you think that's maybe just a bit one-sided, Bryce? Do you think there should be a bit of hope from the fans, or is it the job is already done for Scotland? Damage is done, so to say.
I think a lot of damage has been done. Kind of disappointing performances against teams like Lithuania, particularly Slovakia, where they kind of got drubbed 3-0. There wasn't a lot of positives to take from that match. So, lots of people are thinking that it might just be another time to turn out against Slovenia. But with that kind of, was it 26% you said thought that Scotland could? I mean, that's still a decent percent. So I mean, there is a wee bit of hope.
Considering, look, that I hate to say it, but Scotland are a wee bit of underdogs in this World Cup qualifying campaign now. Do you think that will be in good stead for Scotland and the players, knowing that teams are maybe not expecting them to show up on the day as much as they will, potentially?
I mean, knowing Scotland historically, what will happen is against Slovenia, we'll probably be on top and end up losing the game. And then once it's automatically impossible for Scotland to qualify, they'll start beating everyone. That's what Scotland tend to do. They don't like pressure at all. But I think, I'll just go back to what Bryce was saying, 1 in 4 people roughly saying that Scotland can qualify. I mean, it's not great, but obviously there's plenty of games to go. But I think in the last 3 games, Scotland have conceded 7 goals and scored 1. So
yeah, I'm just
isn't great.
I'm just looking at now. They did lose 3-0 at Wembley to England. They did lose 3-0 against Slovakia away, and it was a 1-0 draw with Lithuania. And they did get off a good start with a 5-1 win against Malta, despite maybe I think it was Malta did equalise first. They scored and then
the Maltese
equalised.
Messi scored that goal. Remember that?
Yeah, like it's games like that. It was a good performance by Scotland, but if it trailed off afterwards, it is a tough group with the likes of Slovakia and England, both teams being at the Euros. But Gregor, if Gordon Strachan doesn't win these two games, I know the Scottish FA say that they're behind him, but is this goodbye for Strachan, do you think? Potentially.
The thing is, I think if we do lose on Sunday, I think it is virtually impossible. Well, mathematically, it's not impossible, but in reality, the chances of qualifying are next to nothing. To be honest, I can't see the FA bringing in a new manager straight away because there's nothing left to get from the campaign. So I imagine Strachan will be here to the end of the World Cup qualifying campaign. But if we lose on Sunday, then I think the next campaign a new manager is definitely going to be needed because nothing really has seemed to change. If anything, Scotland I think have gone backwards the last 2 years. Yeah,
it was reported that Director of Football at the SFA had been involved in team selection. I think it was a half-time one game that he did come in and potentially have an influence on the game. Is that maybe why Bryce he's brought other players in, so mix up his system, that he maybe needs to have more of an influence on what happens?
He definitely needed to try something new. So with the new players coming in, hopefully, I think the match tonight hopefully it should give him problems for selection on Sunday. Now that might sound weird, but if players kind of show up tonight and they impress Strachan, you could find that new player that could just make the Scotland team tick a wee bit better.
And for everyone in the studio, I'm going to come to you first, Gregor. Who stands out most in that Scotland squad? Who you think is going to make an impact most? You can be a bit biased if you want to say John McGinn. I'm not going to hold it against you.
I'd love to say John McGinn, but I don't think he'll start at the weekend, unfortunately. I'm interested to see how Tom Kearney does because he's been, for me, probably one of the best midfielders in the Championship this season. So I think I think it looks like he's going to play tonight according to the reports. So I'm looking forward to see how he does. I don't know if he'll play on Sunday. I think Ryan Fraser's an interesting one as well because he's had a good season at Bournemouth, so I think he could potentially be a standout on Sunday.
Bryce, what about you?
Yeah, it's similar. I quite like Ryan Fraser as the selection. He's often used as a sub for Bournemouth, but when he comes on, he looks full of energy and he does cause problems down the wings.
And what about you, Luke?
I do hate to be the sort of negative energy in the corner over here, but the problem for me is I'm looking at the list of players.
Here we go.
Nobody in particular is standing out. I mean, I think that's half the problem with Scotland. It's a team of very good players, but there's nobody there I'm looking at. I can't think of any of them taking the game by the scruff of his neck and changing it. And I think that is nothing we can do about that, but I think that's half the issue Scotland tend to have these days.
For me, I'm going to go for Oliver Burke. I'm not aware of how much he has played for RB Leipzig this season, but regarding RB Leipzig's current stature, standing in the Bundesliga table, I think they are currently third. They did have a high-flying campaign near the start, so if that confidence is borne well for him, he can maybe translate that into the national side. And we're going to talk about other fixtures in the international stage. Another team that's in Scotland's group is England. England will be playing Germany tonight in Germany, I think it is. I'm not sure where it's being played. Potentially Berlin. I know that the women's...
I think it's in Dortmund.
Is it in Dortmund?
Pretty sure.
Because I'm sure the women's USA national team are playing Germany, but that's going to be at Wolfsburg. But Gregor, if Germany were to beat England tonight, could that affect the confidence for Gareth Southgate's side?
I mean, I'm not entirely sure, because Germany are obviously one of the best teams in the world, and that really, I think England really kind of want to kind of reach the levels that Germany are. So I think tonight's more about performance than the result. I think they've got to, as much as obviously they're nowhere near Germany's level, but I think they've got to try and match their level and just put in a good performance. I think there's a lot of players that received their first call-ups. I think it's important to them to kind of get their first experience with England, especially in quite an important game, or a big game.
Bryce, can England run away with this World Cup qualifying campaign? I think they are, I'll just double check now, they are 3 wins and 4. The third game was a 0 draw with Slovenia. I think a lot of people did argue Slovenia were the better team in that match, but if they were to win their qualifier game on Sunday, that is being against Lithuania, do you think that's secured a place in Russia?
Yeah, I'd be very surprised at this point if England didn't win the group. I mean, there are teams in there that can cause upsets. Slovenia, Slovakia have shown before that they can be quick on the break, but I think England, they've got the point lead, they've got the players to hold out, so I'd be very surprised if they didn't finish top of the group.
Mm-hmm. And other games from tonight are Cyprus, Kazakhstan, a big, massive game there. Czech Republic will also play Lithuania. So if you're from those countries, if you are interested in those matches, then of course those games will be kicking off at 4 o'clock and 5 o'clock British Standard Time respectively. Other games for the qualifying campaign, as we've mentioned, England, Lithuania, Malta will be playing Slovakia. I think Slovakia are favourites, so Malta being the underdogs. Malta are without a point in this qualifying group, so if they were to get one, I think it would be huge for them. And Scotland will be playing Slovenia. All 3 of us, I think, except yourself, Gregor, will be at the game on Sunday. So we'll be talking about the experience of the game in next week's show, so please do tune in for that. Now we're going away to England. There was Premier League fixtures at the weekend despite the international action this week. We're going on Saturday first. We're going to go to West Brom. Things looking from bad to worse for Arsenal. They lost by 3-1 against Tony Pulis' side. Arsene Wenger, a lot of fans wanted him out the job, but it is rumoured that he is going to sign a 1-year contract extension. Look, do you think riots will ensue if that happens?
I mean, you'd like to think not, but I could understand fans' frustration if Arsene Wenger does end up getting another year, because I think, looking at the table now, obviously there's still like sort of 10 or so games to go, but they're 6th place, and the running joke obviously is Arsenal 4th place. They always, for 20 odd years or so, they've been getting 4th place in the Champions League spot. If they finish outside the Champions League, that has to be the end of Wenger's reign. No matter if they win the FA Cup, I think his time has come. So I'd like to think that Arsenal can see sense and bring somebody new in. So I think the club just needs a new lease of life and some new energy, to be honest. But hopefully no riots, because that's not what we like to see at all.
Is it the players not showing up, Gregor? I think Thierry Henry said that they should stop hiding behind the manager and start playing mediocre. Is it just the players, or does Arsene Wenger have to take a bit of blame himself?
Well, I think obviously Wenger's not without blame. I think the players have been, I wouldn't say hiding, but a lot of the players have maybe got a bit of an easy ride because the focus has all been on Wenger. Whereas the fact is, a lot of players at Arsenal just haven't been good enough this season. I think we saw a stat earlier on Saturday. I think they completed about 4 times as many passes as West Brom, but they're all backwards and sideways. No one really had the bravery to kind of take charge and go forward and attack. And I think they have to take a lot of the blame, because there is a lack of leadership, and there probably has been a bit of excuses saying it's Wenger this or it's Wenger that, when really the players are probably just as much to blame, if not more than Wenger, in my opinion.
Other results from the weekend, West Ham United, they lost to Leicester City by 3-2. 3 wins on the bounce for Craig Shakespeare's side. Now, Bryce, is it surprising that this good run of form has come as soon as Ranieri's gone?
Kind of. I mean, I was saying last week that, Shakespeare is coming, and it's odd for, a new manager to get such a good run of form straight away, especially when it's a run of form that's got the last manager fired. So it is a wee bit weird, but, players are playing with confidence and they are looking more like the side that we saw last season. So hopefully this kind of continues and Leicester are climbing up the table. So yeah, we'll see where it goes from there.
Other results, Bournemouth, they got a 2-0 win over Swansea City. Bournemouth now sit 11th with Swansea 1 place above the relegation zone, that being above Hull. Other results, Chelsea, they went to Stoke. Our good lecturer Alan Boy was at the game in the Stoke end. Chelsea did take the lead and Stoke then equalised, but it was Gary Cahill who got the winner there. This is done and dusted for Chelsea for the title.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to be able to say something positive to everyone else, but that's the kind of result that a champion side will grind out. Obviously, they're up against it for a large part of the game. They get the winning goal, and they're sitting 10 points above Tottenham, who are in second place. So for somebody to overturn that gap, I'll be very, very surprised. It does look like it's done and dusted for Chelsea, but it's important that they don't take the foot off the gas and coast. I don't think they will, but that will be if potential problems could come if they do that. But this is Chelsea still losing out at this point.
Other results from the weekend, Everton, they got a 4-0 win against Hull. I think Lukaku got a brace in that match. Gregor, would you say he's now the best striker in the Premier League currently?
I mean, there's a lot of players you could probably say that about, be him, Kane, Ibrahimovic, but he's definitely one of the best. He's matured a lot. You can see in the Koeman, his all-round game has definitely improved. His hold-up play, his dribbling, his passing, but he's definitely amongst the best in the Premier League in a few years, maybe in Europe.
And the final result on the Saturday, Crystal Palace, they got a 1-0 win over Watford. Now, the time I've been waiting for the entire of this show, it was regarding Middlesbrough, Manchester United. Middlesbrough recently sacked their manager after a poor run of form, but Manchester United, they won by 3-1, and in turn, they're out of 6th place. They moved to 5th, as they've been there since October, and now they're out. I think
David,
the studio is not too happy
David, no.
regarding this.
I think
and I'll celebrate that later on off air. But yes, that is correct. Manchester United are out of 6th place, despite them being unbeaten in the league since October. They've been sat there since October, and instead Arsenal, of all the teams, do replace them. Everyone is cringing.
I can't believe he did it.
How the mighty have fallen.
How the mighty. Oh, do you want to jump in there, Gregor? Is this minor victory for Man United, or should they should embrace this getting finally out that 6th place spot?
Well, I don't quite think it's having open top bus parade for getting out of 6th. I think it is good. I mean, it is good. I mean, they're getting closer to the top 4, and really their form from December onwards has probably merited a place in the top 4, but the poor starts really kind of affected them there. But yeah, I mean, they can start looking at the table now and eyeing at the top 4. I think they've got 2 games in hand over Liverpool, who are 4 points ahead, so win those 2 and my word, they could actually be in the top 4 for a change.
Can they do it, Bryce? Can they get top 4?
I mean, this is the kind of great results that you see with Jose Mourinho. I mean, you wouldn't get this with Van Gaal. This is Mourinho's magic here.
In general, though, it is more attacking play and it's more exciting for United fans.
It is. It's a lot better. To be fair, it's a lot better United's team and performances this season than last season and a couple of seasons before that. Truth be told, but hopefully United will. Or hopefully for some, I should say, I think David will be kind of returning to that form that they were when Ferguson left.
And other results were on the Sunday. Tottenham, they were hosting Southampton, got a 2-1 win. They were just, without the service of Harry Kane, who is out through injury, but they still get the result, Gregor. Can they do it for the rest of the season?
I don't know the reason why not. I think they've got quite a favourable run. I believe they've got. I think the last how many games to go? There's 10 games to go. I think 7 of them are against the bottom 7. So yeah, I mean, you look at their home form. I think they've won their last 10 games. This is like a club record since I think the 80s or something like that. And if they can keep that up, then I think they could potentially get a place. Looks like they will get a place in the top 4 if they keep it up, which is a good achievement when you consider the money that they've spent compared to the rest of the top 4 challengers.
Yeah, they played Son as a striker. Is he a striker though?
For me, he's better out left where he can kind of cut inside. He's not really got the strength to kind of hold the ball up or bring it. But yeah, I think his dribbling ability, you need to use it out wide to kind of get into the byline and create chances for others. I think Janssen, he only played for 10 minutes or so, but he certainly looked quite confident, so potentially play him.
And the final game on the Sunday was Manchester City. They were hosting Liverpool at the Etihad. Liverpool took the lead thanks to a penalty by James Milner, but Manchester City did go back thanks to a strike by Gregor, but they did miss a sitter. Adam Lallana had an easy tap in on a plate from even Firmino, celebrating in front of the Liverpool fans. But it wasn't conceded. Is this 2 points dropped for Jurgen Klopp's side, Luke?
Yes, no hiding behind it. I know people will probably disagree with me on this, but 100% 2 points dropped. It was an open game. Could have gone either way, but Adam Lallana's miss, if you haven't seen it, if you're a Liverpool fan, do not watch it. Whatever you do not watch it. But for anyone else, it seemed harder to miss than to score. So definitely 2 points dropped, I think, for Liverpool.
And we're coming to the end of the show. Thanks to everyone for coming on. We're going to read out today's teaser. The teaser was, which outfield player holds the record for the most consecutive appearances in the Premier League? The answer was Frank Lampard. He achieved this at Chelsea. It was 164 games he appeared for Chelsea from the time of October 2001 to December 2005. Thanks for those who tweeted in. Moment of the week. Gregor, you go first.
Sounds a bit strange being him, Sam, but potentially Christian Nari scoring at Easter Road for what seems like the millionth time, and hopefully by the end of the season, the last time.
Bryce, what about you?
Well, it was my first time in a media box at a match, so I really enjoyed that.
Luke?
I'm actually struggling because I'll be honest, I haven't actually followed much of football this week, but I'll have to go with Man United finally doing something that makes their fans happy and coming 5th place.
A bit of sarcasm there and a slow clap by Gregor. For me, I think it was yesterday when we went down to Easter Road to interview the Canadian national team. That was very exciting. And also myself, Bryce and Luke will be in the press box again at Easter Road for the Scotland-Canada game. We'll be talking about that all and more next week.
Sorry, can I change my answer? Meeting Neil Lennon. Sorry.
Meeting Neil Lennon. I would probably say that as well. That was a dream come true to say. Thanks to everyone for coming on the show. Thanks for you to listening. And this is for you, Michael Gawkin. This is Base Hunter with Now You're Gone.